Hello everybody. Oh, what's this? Another YouTube video where an artist bitches about AI images? Yes, it is. But I'm not going to talk about my general thoughts on AI as a whole, as that's a conversation that is entirely too complex for me to tackle. Instead, I want to focus on one specific sentiment that I have seen growing among the AI bros during my doom scrolling through the interwebs. A while back, I was going through some Instagram stories and read a set of stories from an artist I followed at the time, with his thoughts on generative AI. Apologies if the translation is not exactly as it should be, I'm relying on Instagram's auto-translation feature here. I think over time as a professional, I've changed my view towards AI. Art has always been a luxury, not a necessity. And nowadays, that luxury is more in the hands of the average people. Art is a luxury, not a necessity. I want you to imagine, if you will, for a couple seconds here, a world without any art or freedom of expression. Go ahead. I'll give you some time. Pretty fucking grim, right? Humans need an outlet, some way to express themselves, or some way to relate to the expression of others. If you told me that you've never found any comfort or been able to relate to any piece of art in your life, then I'd say you're just a bad faith fucking liar. Think about it. A life where you cannot experience music, dancing, books, movies, TV, video games, fashion, paintings, interior design. Fuck, nostalgia critic. What the fuck kind of life is that? I have no idea how you can tell me with a straight face that art is not a necessity to our health and well-being when we as humans are constantly trying to express our thoughts through art every second of every day. Like, come on, if you just think about it for more than a second, you'd realize how that doesn't make any sense. The big Zuck hired designers and artists to design the entire aesthetic of the app you use to make such a stupid claim. But I digress. The real topic of the video lies within this sentiment right here. And nowadays, that luxury is more in the hands of the average people. Art, just art in general. Yeah, I'm calling bullshit on that. You cannot tell me that in the year of our Lord 2025, humanity has ever had more access to artistic creations than we do right now. Nearly every single person in any kind of Western civilization has quick and easy access to lay their eyes on nearly any kind of art they could ever want to see, at least in a digital format. And I hate to break it to you, but the vast majority of art is made by average people. Social media has absolutely clouded yours and many people's judgments into thinking only the successful artists out here are creating art, when there's a good chance that you've interacted with dozens of artists in your day-to-day life. Sure, the vast majority of art that is consumed by people is usually made by the big hitters, but that doesn't mean the average 9-to-5 worker isn't also creating art, i.e. me, the guy talking right now. I'm that guy. So let's look at that. Let's focus on the quote-unquote average people that want to create art rather than the audience that consumes it. I quickly perused to see what discussions were being had about this subject on different platforms and found a few that were interesting. Some of these were responding to a Reddit post posing the question, what is with the argument that AI has quote-unquote made art accessible? This was put up and sparked some discussion, and I found a similar discussion about this topic on Instagram Threads as well. Why the fuck am I on Threads? That's a fantastic question. I don't know why I haven't deleted it, yet here we are. It managed to be useful in the end somehow. What is with the argument that AI has made art accessible? Was it not accessible before? Anyone can draw. They might not be good at it, but you can do it. Is it trying to say it made making good art accessible? Because then what is good? I just don't get why it's an argument or even a point to be made. It doesn't seem like art was very inaccessible before. Edit. I have conceded my argument. Why? I think most of you raised pretty stupid points. One comment was pretty good. All they said was, anything that saves time and money increases accessibility. That's just a formula that applies to everything. This made more sense than I think most of you who just got mad or tried to throw in something about how certain disabled people can't make art. I still think that basically everyone can draw, and I think more people should, because I think making bad art is good for your health. Either way, the world would be way cooler if we, instead of worrying about money, which is evil, everyone could just live in peace and draw pictures and eat fruit all day and say, okay. Edit 2, a lot of people seem to think I am attacking AI art by saying this, or that I think nobody should use it. I never said that. Okay, whatever. That's not the important bit. So I think the obvious thing to tackle first is the argument the original poster conceded on. Anything that saves time and money increases accessibility. That's just a formula that applies to everything. While I see the argument, if we're going to get technical, drawing is infinitely cheaper than using AI art. To use AI, you need money to purchase a device that can run it, money to pay for internet access, and some sort of power source to charge the battery of said device that runs the AI. As a broad overview of using any digital device, you need those things. Compare that to traditional art. Well, all you need to create art is a good old pencil and paper, both of which cost next to nothing you can get from any office supply store when you compare it to the cost of other shit nowadays. Holy fuck, eggs! You don't need a phone, computer, or internet access to draw traditionally, and you can literally just go outside or to a public library for a wealth of resources and references to help you learn. Of course, in the public resources outlet, you need transportation, but if you're so down in the hole that you don't even have access to public transportation, then you've got bigger problems than this video. Get to work, buddy. Even digital art, which has similar cost to AI, still in the long run isn't as expensive because you still don't see an internet connection or some kind of server host with high processing power to be able to churn out generated images. You can make great art with a relatively cheap laptop or PC and a non-display drawing tablet. Hell, there are artists who will use shit like Microsoft Paint or draw on phones exclusively and create awesome work. And the only amount of time AI saves you is the time of actually creating the art itself. But in terms of being able to finance the base tools needed and the time spent working a job to earn that money, it's relatively the same. For both AI and digital art, you need some kind of computer or tablet, which vary in price depending on your needs. But for the sake of this, we'll say you only have this device for either digital art or AI generation. You need internet access, but for digital art, this is actually flexible because there are programs like our Lord and Savior Procreate on the iPad Pro that are a one-time payment. So once you download it, you have it forever and does not require an internet connection to use afterwards, nor subscription. There are also many free drawing programs out there that are actually robust. Some of you who follow me know I run a podcast called The Spice Cabinet, and we exclusively do all the art on there on Magma, a free browser program. And I only use it to sketch and doodle stupid shit, but it is absolutely capable of being used to create more quality, finished pieces of art. For only digital art, you need some sort of drawing tablet, but you can get quality, non-display tablets for under $100 that do exactly what you need them to. There are plenty of free AI programs, but to use any of the good ones, you're going to be expected to pay for it. So you have to factor in the fact that you have to pay for a smarter robot to generate things for you. Whereas in the case of an artist, the only thing stopping them from creating better and more refined work is themselves. Because of this, I just don't see how AI saves that much more time and money. That excuse feels like an example of someone who doesn't know how to work on a budget and probably doesn't want to put in the time to learn to draw, which isn't a big deal, but that doesn't really have anything to do with accessibility when getting into art is not nearly as expensive as it's made out to be. So I don't really know why the original poster conceded to this argument, considering the monetary differences to work with AI versus actually creating art is basically meaningless the more you think about it, and the time aspect seems to only come down to one's personal level of motivation to do so. Why do I feel like this theme of one's own dedication to the craft is going to come up a lot in this conversation surrounding accessibility? Either way, here's another response to the Reddit post. What a weird post. Some people don't have 10 years to invest in studying art to express themselves at a level that is more than embarrassing beginner. Oh boy, here we go. I'm having a hard time believing you can't grasp such a simple thing. Unless you're at the very tail end of your life, You have those 10 years. And if you think being a beginner at drawing is embarrassing, then I don't know how you could learn any new skill or hobby. Because I guess it would all just be too embarrassing to be a beginner, right? I don't know, I guess just fucking grow up? This is like a child's level understanding of learning a new skill. I find that to be an incredibly sad and disheartening thing to hear from someone, that just because they're a beginner, they shouldn't even try. You do realize you're not obligated to share your work online, right? You can keep this to yourself and in close circles, and when you're ready to share, the internet isn't going anywhere. Fucking insecure sheep mentality, unlike me, the big dog.
The alpha big dog in this motherfucker, that's right.
I'm not gonna howl, that's fucking terrible. This comment here came from Instagram Threads. I don't have the original post that sparked this because it's been a while since I put this all together, but honestly, it's not really relevant to me countering what this person is saying. You can refine a skill, you cannot learn it. I will never be able to draw because I can't picture shit in my head, and now I don't have to. Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus. Lord Christ. You can refine a skill, you cannot learn it. That is profoundly retarded. I'm sorry, are you telling me you just crip walked out of your mother when you were born, or just understood the English language? And what, you just had to refine the skills after? Oh boy, look at Mr. Big Walks over here, sprinting and frolicking at the ripe old age of 7.5 weeks, you dumb dick. I will never be able to draw because I can't picture shit in my head.
Newsflash, asshole!
Artists aren't just born with the visual library of life in their heads. You have to spend time studying from life in order to create these quote-unquote pictures in your head until the muscle memory sets in. It takes time and practice, which seems to be exactly what these people are fucking allergic to. These are obvious insecurities that they are attempting to mask under this extremely vague understanding of accessibility. Sure, everyone can learn to draw, it just takes years of practice given that you have enough free time and a lot of motivation, and most people will still never compared to them using AI. Okay, admitting in the very beginning of your argument that everyone can learn to draw kind of makes the rest of your statement be a fuck all in this context, but whatever. At least you're semi-self-aware, acknowledging how self-motivation is a big part of any learning process. You could use the same argument for translations. Does the translation of a foreign book make it more accessible? Anyone can just learn the foreign language. Yeah, you're right. Anyone can just learn another language. But the problem we're having here is that you're comparing a language, an extremely complex communication system with a lot of strict rules and criteria in order to, communicate, to drawing, to art, which in of itself has no rules, it has no expectations, except for one. You just have to make it. Just walk into any modern art gallery and look at all the fucking squares, splatters, and bananas hung up in there. A language must be constructed in a particular order of letters, into a particular order of words, into a particular order of phrases, spoken in a particular vernacular in order to be understood. Art does not need to be understood, but as human beings, we tend to want to understand things, so in the absence of an explanation from the creator, we will instead project our own ideas onto the art. And they go on to say, so I'd say it absolutely makes it more accessible, and for many people, learning to draw wouldn't be reasonable accessible. Reasonable accessible, you sneaky bastard, you. Look at you trying to downplay words and shit. I'm pretty sure they meant to say reasonably accessible, but we get the point. Listen, either it's accessible or it isn't. Because by throwing in the word reasonable, you're now paired with the first fucking sentence of your argument, admitting that art is absolutely accessible. You just think it's an unreasonable expectation to draw, to improve. In that case, all I can say is that you're an extremely unmotivated individual who's not actually interested in being an artist, which is fine. You don't have to be interested in becoming an artist, right? There's no shame in just being honest. You could just say, I want to use AI because I don't really care to draw, or I don't want to learn to draw. I like the AI. It does what I want it to do. Just say that. Just be upfront with it.
Oh boy, this one's a doozy.
I mean, it's like if sports video games never existed and you said, well, anyone could pick up a ball and play basketball. Like, yeah, on the most basic and fundamental level, but the vast amount of average people do not have the time and energy and physicality to do anything more than shoot some hoops at a local park once in a while, if they even have one close by. And if they even have more than a friend or two who have the same time and interest. Not everyone has a driveway with a hoop set up. Most busy working people with responsibilities can't devote themselves to developing their skills and playing in local leagues long enough to have anything close to the experience of being a 6'5", ultra-skilled NBA player. But then someone invents NBA 2K5 for PlayStation or whatever, and now they can actually live out the dream and experience dunking as an elite player on their favorite team. Is that wrong or lazy or entitled or somehow desecrating the soul of the sport or the hard work of the actual players? Would you yell at them? You think you're a real bitch, what? Why did I say that? You think you're a real professional sports player, but you're not. And tell them their game is slop and to go pick up a basketball? What? Video games still require a level of skill, so much so that you can make an entire career out of it. How can you make this comparison when esports and streaming is as big as it's ever been? I'd argue it takes a lot more time and dedication to be professionally good at video games than it does to generate AI images. I don't know, maybe there's some crazy hacker man level of coding involved in generating some anime girl popping her pussy that I'm missing here. And once again, these people don't know what accessibility means. If you're a 5'8" person who's in average shape at the age of 36, will you ever be throwing swishes at the three-point line on national TV? No. But does that mean you are barred from basketball? What's wrong with shooting some hoops with friends and family? What's wrong with organizing games with other people in your local area? Why is that seen as such a lowly thing and not passion that people wish to cultivate with others? Unless, you were insecure about it. But hey, I'm not going to armchair this guy here, just saying things. And furthermore, this still isn't a fair comparison because the bar for being a professional basketball player is way higher than being an artist. To be in the NBA or something, there is a very high skill and physicality ceiling that doesn't just apply to art. Not even disregarding genetics here. What a break. If you draw, you are an artist. If you only draw for the accolades and approval of creating a pretty picture, you are an artist and a wretched clout chaser. If you only use AI for the accolades and approval of generating a pretty picture, you are only one of those two things. I'll let you guys decide which one. I can relate to this little basketball analogy in a different way. I'm not only a mediocre artist, but I'm also a mediocre martial artist. Yeah, but you didn't see that one coming. I am a 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo. I did it for 11 years straight. I both trained and taught classes consistently from kids as young as 4 years old to senior citizens. I formed bonds and friendships with people that can't ever be broken no matter how much time has passed. I learned skills and developed a level of discipline that I absolutely would not have had without that experience, many of which I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Like a really good stretch routine that's kept me flexible, or counting to 10 in Korean. And yeah, that's kind of all we did. Shit, guys, I think I got scammed. But I mean, I never went to an official sparring tournament, never went to the Olympics. I don't own any trophies or medals or anything. As I sit in this chair, I can look over to my left and I can see the black belts sitting in my closet. Anyway, anecdotes aside, there's a couple more parts of this comment I'd like to address. So what if someone with no art skills, hardly any free time because they have to work to support family, no clue about how to use different mediums like messy oil paints, etc.? See, there's this wonderful thing on the interwebs called tutorials on this free, that's right, free website called YouTube. You can find a plethora of beginner's guides to learning pretty much anything. It's to the point where you can easily become a professional level artist through YouTube alone these days. Curly, why aren't you a professional artist? Because I'm bad at the things I do. But at least I'm proud of me being bad. This is a bad joke. Fuck. The comment continues with, wants to live out what it might be like to have the abilities of a famous impressionist painter and bring their dreams and artistic expressions to life. Sound a little specific, buddy. Just, Nah, it doesn't have anything to do with them. Obviously not. Once again, this idea of fame and clout comes up, or at least having the skills of someone with that clout. But here's the hard truth. No matter how far you go in your career as an artist, you will never be totally satisfied. Unless you have the ego the size of Jupiter, there will always be an aspect of your own work that you will wish to improve on. You will always look back on a piece of art you create and think, I probably could have drawn the perspective on X better, or made the light harsher on Y, yada yada yada, you get the idea. There's this obsession among non-artists of just having the thing, the final product, the glory, completely foregoing that the process of creating that product can, and often will be, an incredibly productive experience in of itself, which leads into the commenter's next point. You could say anyone could pick up a pencil, but what if they dream about working in a more difficult medium with more expensive tools that cost more money and take up more space? They should just be barred from ever having any access to even a vague facsimile of that experience in any way for life? Once again, these people just use words I feel like they don't fully comprehend in this context. Experience. I guess I'll just ask, how in any way is AI providing someone with the same experience as creating an oil painting? I suppose you have the beginning and end, right? I want to paint this idea, and here's the end result of that idea generated onto your screen. If that's what you call experiencing creating a painting, then I just feel sad for you. You're just essentially removing the entirety of the process, a process that AI cannot replicate because it requires the physical interaction of a human and paint. And once again, none of this has to do with accessibility to art, merely people's lack of skill and discipline. And as the cherry on top is all the fucking dramatism, a vague facsimile of that experience in any way for life. Like, calm the fuck down, brother. Dial it back a bit, why don't you? Acting like someone is throwing them into a cage where the ability to create any art is locked behind some fucking magical locked box. If you're sitting here typing bad essays on Reddit or YouTube, haha, that's me, then you can get some cheap oil paints and A4 size canvases and make some paintings. Fuck, I spent the majority of my life making art on copy paper with Clearpoint mechanical pencils. Until I upgraded to the absolute GOAT, the Pentel Graph Gear 500, baby. Let me tell you something, I had the same Pentel mechanical pencil from the beginning of high school all the way to the end of college. Damn near 8 years that thing had my back, a true ride or die, until I lost it while I took a study abroad trip to the UK, probably stolen by some dirty tea-drinking, crumpet-munching, bean-slurping Brit. This shit is like $4 on Amazon, by the way. I highly recommend. Not sponsored, just a genuinely good pencil. This person ends their argument with a question. Why is it so sacrilegious in this case, but not with the basketball case? Again, I already addressed how they're completely different cases, but I personally don't see AI images as something as dramatic as sacrilegious, but I believe part of the reason so many artists get so passionate about it is because a large chunk of the AI bros will claim themselves to be artists or on the same level as actual artists. And on the flip side, you have artists starting any conversation with AI in the most bad faith, vitriolic way possible, which often leads to a large amount of conflict. But I think you'd be hard pressed to find any gamers claiming that they're just as skillful as the characters they play as. Apart from the few retards who think playing Call of Duty makes them special forces operators or some shit, but every normal human being just disregards those people as the dipshits that they are. Anyways, there's many more variations of this argument under the broad umbrella of accessibility, many of which actually having nothing to do with accessibility, but more their own insecurities and shortcomings. We could look at more, but I feel like we'd just be getting reductive by doing so. Maybe someday I'll make a follow-up to this, if I decide there are more interesting arguments I could tackle. And you know what? If you don't have the motivation or just too lazy to make time for learning to draw, that's fine. But art is suddenly not more accessible to you with AI. It was always there. We've been making art since we were cave people who lived to the age of 30 if they were lucky. What these AI folks mean to say is that they want a quality of art that they cannot create themselves due to a lack of skill. Not time, not money, skill. The truth is that if you are an artist, you will make time to learn, to create, because there is a level of passion for the process of creating something that goes beyond just the end result of a pretty picture. Hell, it was incredibly fun to type out the script for this video, to read it out, to put my thoughts down and create what you beautiful fellows are watching right now. Sure, there are many times where you cannot create. We all have work, relationships, families, health issues, and finances to constantly keep up with, and it can bog down anyone. I know it bogs me down. But I bet that every artist watching this video has had that thought of, man, I can't wait to get home from X, Y, or Z and keep working on this art project at least once in their lives. Listen, you want to use AI to quickly show off something to your players in D&D? Go for it. I don't care. But that doesn't suddenly mean the art you wanted to show them was inaccessible. It just means you needed more skills and more discipline to create it yourself, which again is fine, but I don't like it when people let their insecurities get in the way of definitions. So I'll leave off on this. If you have time to be doom scrolling through social media threads and arguing with people to make you and your generated images feel validated, then I find it incredibly hard to believe you don't have the time to pick up a pencil and do some studies on a piece of copy paper. If you don't want to do it, then don't. Just don't then turn around and claim it to be inaccessible.